Hi, this is the LBX, the second model after the legendary Lexus LFA, whose name consists of 3 letters, not 2. This may mean that it is a quite unique car, and you are not mistaken, because LBX is to find its way to 25,000 customers in Europe this year and 2,500 in our country. As you can see, I'm not in Krakow. I came to Valencia to check if these assumptions are true. I invite you to a short presentation about the Lexus LBX. First, the appearance. The LBX is the second Lexus model that was created mainly for customers from the old continent, which means that it must be original because Europeans don't like boring cars. So the designers were asked to come up with a new, fresh approach of the so-called next chapter design concept. LBX's looks are supposed to communicate urban character. This means that it can't be boring because urban reality is a game of colors, contrasts, and all-encompassing dynamics. So the question is this new chapter not an element of boring romance forced on you? At first glance, no. Because I must admit that the cover is impressive. From the outside, LBX looks interesting, although it breaks a little with the styling of its brothers. There are a lot of round elements, most of the sharp lines have been smoothed out, and the characteristic look is a little remodeled for a pleasant, although intriguing smile. As for the rear part of the body, I must admit that initially I wrote in the script that the back is a bit preventive, and Lexus could have tried a bit harder because we are talking about a city car and people from the city like when something happens. But I haven't seen this car live before, and now once I looked at it, I changed my mind because in my opinion, everything here simply matches. Most of all, this big LED bar, which is running through the whole width, it looks very nice in this car. And the back is so slim, compact, and in my opinion, pretty. Okay, so much about the styling. Now let's look what's beneath it. The Lexus LBX was built on the GAB platform, which was specially adapted to this model. The wheelbase was extended and widened, and the body frame has been made more rigid. This means that we are dealing with a car that is 4.19 meters long, 1.83 meters high, 1.55 meters wide. The wheelbase is 2.58 meters. And in fact, if I give you so many numbers, one more value will not hurt, and in my opinion it is quite important. The turning radius, because it is only 5.2 meters. The cover turned out to be quite good, but we all know that you can't judge a book by its cover. LBX, show us what's inside. The Lexus LBX is a very close relative of the Toyota Yaris Cross, but we are talking about a premium car, so inside it should be premium. And it is because finishing of this car is really good. The whole dashboard is so soft that I could sleep on it. Here is covered with Alcantara, so some other kind of mesh. Everything you touch is very pleasant to touch. Only here in the lower parts the hard plastic starts, but it is also pleasant to touch. The most important thing is that wherever you touch this car, the materials are pleasant. The fitting is also good, although some elements like this tunnel move a little, but nothing makes disturbing sounds. Some elements are worse fitted, but let's take into account that I'm on a driving presentation, and these cars haven't been serially produced yet. I will be able to check it out only when this car will be in our editorial office, so I don't want to get too much into quality details. Anyway, the most important thing is that you can't hear these elements. What you get in this car is also very important for clients of this type of cars. A lot of configurations and possibilities to customize the interior. You can change the color of the seat belts, the color of the seat, the stitching, the used materials. There are a lot of configuration possibilities, and this will be the first Lexus model that introduces such a wide range of customization. What I noticed when I got in this car is how the engine bay is positioned. Look, I have a really sharp angle between my feet and the tibia, so to make it comfortable I should move away quite a lot, and this makes the passengers in the back have a big problem. Well, somehow I managed to get in, but my knees are getting into the seat, and I can feel the ribs in this seat, so I'm not feeling very comfortable. Okay, someone will say, okay, but you moved quite a lot to the back. So now to compare, the driver's seat is set for me. Just to remind you, I'm 183 centimeters tall, and look if it's better here. It is better. But the margin of error is 0. I fit in here. Okay, we're talking about a city car, so considering just a short drive in the city, I wouldn't complain. There is also a lot of space above my head, so yes, for short drives it's enough, but not for longer travels. Lexus LBX will be available as a hybrid, consisting of a naturally aspirated 1.5-liter petrol engine and an electric motor. The total power of the hybrid system is 136 horsepower and 185 Newton meters, and it will accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 9.6 seconds. There is nothing to hide. It's not a speed demon, but Lexus has already pointed out that it's not that kind of car, and it won't be considered even in the smallest degree by customers expecting more power. No, this car is just supposed to drive pleasantly in the city, and the fact that it lacks power, well, okay, who needs a lot of power in town anyway? What's important is that this hybrid is a bit modified. because they used a bipolar battery here, which gives electricity to the electric motor much faster. So the reaction to the gas pedal is much quicker. But I'm coming back to the power. The whole system has 136 horsepower. Sure, you will feel that when you press the gas pedal, the electric engine wakes up instantly, but the combustion engine needs some time. You just have to give it some time, but it doesn't bother you at all. It is also important that even though the LBX is built on the same suspension as the Yaris Cross, some elements like the dampers have been changed, and so the comfort has been changed. It also depends on the version you choose, because you can have LBX with front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. So on the front axle, you always get McPherson struts. However, at the rear you either get a torsion beam axle, or with all-wheel drive there will be a multi-link suspension, and it will definitely affect the quality of ride. This is a front-wheel drive version, and unfortunately today there is no LBX with all-wheel drive available, so I won't compare it. But driving this car during this short period today, I can tell you that it really drives nicely, and as I would expect from this type of car, it should be pleasant, not so much engaging. And what also influences the driving pleasure of this car is the system I first saw in the Lexus LM, which is a car in a different league when it comes to the segmentation of the Lexus models. The system divides the braking force between the front and the rear axle to lower the car's diving and to raise the front when accelerating. And while it's hard to raise the front when driving 136 horsepower, during braking it's very noticeable. Because when braking with LBX, it doesn't dive at all. It's a system that is brilliant in use. In the LM you could feel it much more because it's a much bigger car, but in this Nipper it also works brilliant. None of the competitors in this class offer anything similar. Lexus declarations about the fuel consumption are also very important. Lexus states that this car will consume 4.4 liters per 100 kilometers. Currently I have a consumption of 5.6 liters per 100 kilometers, but I'm driving rather dynamically. The current range is 593 kilometers and the fuel tank is 36 liters. So the numbers add up. My colleague took this car for a spin around town in the morning, wrote me that he achieved even 3.3 liters, but you can go lower. In other words, this car really consumes as much fuel as a scooter. So the only thing left is to answer the question, what are the chances of success for the Lexus LBX? Prices: 153,000 PLN for the basic version, 180,000 PLN for the highest spec, but apparently there will be discounts available. And that's not cheap. We're talking about a premium brand, premium model, what you get inside, what materials you get, and most of all, this car doesn't have any competition. It's the only one on the market. So I think that considering the volumes that Lexus wants to sell, its targets are achievable. As far as we know, until today, 800 units have been ordered before the official start of sale in Poland. However, the second part of the target is much harder to achieve. The Lexus LBX can be a car for people who are looking for an interesting model and have money. It's not a car for the average customer, because that's what the Toyota Yaris Cross is for. It's a car for people who want to stand out, who want to show that they have money, and who want to drive a small car, but a really well-made car. Let me know what you think about this car. Let me know what you think about this video. If you liked it, leave a thumb up, and see you in the next tests.